Hello, my name is Nina Haley, and I'll be guiding you through this premenstrual yoga practice for when you're not feeling so great. You will need some pillows, a long pillow if you have one, or a yoga bolster, a blanket, 2 blocks, and maybe a smaller pillow in which to put under your head during the relaxation portion of the practice. Let's get started. So coming onto all fours, hands and knees, with the wrists lined up underneath of the shoulders and the knees underneath of the hips, lengthening through your spine, tailbone pointing down and in between the feet. The crown of your head is reaching forward. And just softening the abdomen on the inhales as you tune into the rhythm of the breath. And you can even drop the head down a little bit, lengthening through the back of the neck, gliding the shoulder blades down the spine or down the back, and then reaching the crown of the head forward. And settling into the rhythm of the breath as you inhale through the nose and exhale through either the mouth or the nose, whichever feels more comfortable for you. And just taking a moment here to tune into your womb space. Just notice if there's a feeling of heaviness in your lower abdomen, in the inner thighs. And thinking of driving that exhale from the crown of the head down through the throat, down through the heart, and down into the space of the womb. Softening on the inhales and relaxing into the exhales. And then we'll begin to add in some movement here. So as you inhale, think of tipping your tailbone up towards the ceiling, and then exhale, curl the tailbone down so that it's now down inner, pointing down in between the knees. And then inhale, tip the tailbone up, and exhale, point the tailbone down and in between the knees. So it's not necessarily cat-cow or Chakravakasana. It's more so a pelvic movement here. So as you inhale and the tailbone tips up to the ceiling, you're spreading your sits bones apart, creating lots of space in your pelvic floor. And then as you exhale and draw the tailbone down in between the knees, the sits bones come together, and it's like you're closing off the pelvic floor. Inhaling and feeling that expansion, that spreading, that release of the pelvic floor. And then exhaling and drawing the 2 sits bones together. And you can sink down a little bit into the shoulders if the arms are getting tired, or you can even come down onto your forearms if that's more comfortable for you. And we'll add in a little bit more movement. So now as you inhale, just allowing your shoulders and your pelvis to come forward. And then as you exhale, round out the spine, drop the head, start to look back. And inhale, tip the tailbone up, spread the sits bones. And exhale, rounding through the spine. And you can start to take your exhale back into child's pose, even separating your knees slightly if you need to. Just creating lots of space around the womb. And only taking your child's pose back as far as is comfortable for you. Typically in those premenstrual days, if you're feeling that heaviness in your lower abdomen in your womb space and in your pelvis. Sometimes forward folding doesn't feel so good, so you decide how far you'd like to take this back. And then sometimes resting in child's pose can feel really good here. Allowing the breath to lead the movement. So beginning to inhale before you move and beginning to exhale before you move. Allowing these movements to be nice and fluid. Just moving with the rhythm of the breath. It's like you're taking your womb for a ride here. Settling into that watery environment of the second chakra, but also grounding into the first chakra. So it's like we're settling in that space between the first and the second chakra with grounding and fluidity. Good. And then you can take this all the way back to child's pose on the next out breath, or even puppy pose. So for puppy pose or anahata asana, the hips stay above the knees and you just walk the forearms out and release the head down. You can bring the palms together here. And if it feels right for you, you can take it all the way back into child's pose. Where I am right now, that's not feeling so great. So I'm going to lift my hips back up here. And just breathing down into the space of the womb. Allowing the abdomen to fill and soften on each and every inhale. I'm just sending blood or oxygen to the reproductive organs here. And one more breath. And then beginning to slide the hands back, walking yourself back so that you're sitting in a kind of Varasana here. You can bring the knees a little bit closer because we come into our womb breathing here. Palms come together at the heart. And then as you shift into downward facing yoni mudra, the thumbs and the index fingers come together to make a downward pointing triangle here. And then the hands slide over the space of the womb, down towards the floor. Inhale, take the arms up and overhead. Exhale, bring the palms together and back down to the heart. Good. Taking another breath in. And as you exhale, just allow yourself to really move into this sensation of breathing from the crown of the head, down through the heart, and down into the womb space. And if you like, you can begin to take it all the way down to the floor. The arms come out. You can rise up onto your knees. You can circle the hips around, circle the pelvis around. Just feel into your body. Notice what feels right at this time. Moving and breathing in a way that feels right for you. Inhaling and rising and exhaling. Exhaling the hands down into downward facing yoni mudra. Allowing yourself to just move with the flow and rhythm of the breath. Only folding as far forward as is comfortable for your growing and expanding womb. One more breath. And bringing the palms together, exhaling. Hands come to the heart. And taking 3 breaths here. Just placing one hand over the heart, one hand over the womb. And feeling that connection of breath from the heart center and the womb space. And softly blinking the eyes open, taking the hands down to the mat, walking your hands back out onto all fours, drawing your knees so that they're right underneath of the hips. And just beginning to make some circles here with the pelvis. So you can walk your hands out a little bit if you need to, but leading the movement with the pelvis here. So just releasing the muscles that support the pelvis and the spine here. So imagine that you're trying to draw a circle on your mat with your pubic bone. Again, you can take the hips as far back as feels comfortable for you. And the closer you are to your next cycle starting or your bleed starting, your uterus is probably a little bit heavier. Changing directions here, circling the pelvis the other way. Inhaling as the hips move down towards the mat and exhaling as the hips move back. And just being creative with your movements here, just allowing the head and the neck to move in any way that feels right for you. Good. 3 more circles in this direction. And if you're starting to feel any discomfort in your lower abdomen or in your uterus, and then coming back into that puppy pose, or you can just come into a side lying position and allowing your hips to settle back, bringing yourself back into a neutral position. And we'll come into what I like to call cleaning the barrel. Some people call it skipping rope with the torso. So imagine that you have a barrel around your waist and you're trying to clean the inside of the barrel with your torso. Or it's like your torso is an actual jumping rope, so 1/2 of double Dutch. Just taking the torso as far down, as far to the left, as far up, and as far to the right as feels good for you. And during menstruation, you do release a little bit of the hormone relaxin. So sometimes you can feel a little bit more mobility in your spine and in your pelvis. So the pelvis is a little bit looser, and sometimes that can cause some discomfort or some instability. So just get things moving around here. Notice what's happening in your sacroiliac joints in your lower back. If you're feeling any tension, change directions here. Feel into the joints of the pelvis. Just keep breathing here. Inhaling as the belly drops. And exhaling as the torso lifts. One more rotation around. Coming back into a neutral spine. And walking the forearms down and out, releasing the elbows down. Again, you can take a full child's pose here or keep your hips above your knees, resting the forehead down. allowing your heart to melt down towards the mat here. So releasing the shoulders. And you can take the knees wide or have them hip width apart, and you decide what feels right for you. And just create creating space in the lower abdomen, creating space in the pelvic floor for that impending release. Two more breaths here. And then whenever you feel ready, sliding one hand back and then the other, pressing yourself up. Bringing your knees a little closer together. And rocking your hips from side to side. So it's as if you're trying to release the hip down towards the floor here. Sometimes that can feel really good in the outer thigh, outer hip region, in the lower back. If you tend to have sacroiliac joint dysfunction or lower back pain, sometimes this can feel good and sometimes it doesn't. So just being mindful of how this feels for you. And only taking the hip as low as feels good. So you're keeping both your hands on the floor and the shoulders only slightly shift. You're trying to keep the shoulders mainly over top of the wrist here. Just breathing into those sensations, exhaling the hip down and inhaling the hip back up. Good, one more breath on each side. Inhale and come back to the center. Shifting your hips to the side, just swinging your legs around, preparing for our resting posture. So you'll need your 2 blocks or stacks of books, and just placing your blocks so that they're side by side on the medium setting. And now taking your bolster or your long pillow so that it lies across. So we're making like a table here. And if you have a blanket, you can put the blanket underneath of your hips or under your head, or you can choose to cover up with your blanket. I like my little meditation bolster to go under my head. And then scoot your hips as close to the bolster as you can get them. Swing your legs over top so that your thighs are resting on the bolster as well. Bring yourself back onto your elbows and then slowly release yourself down to the floor. If you have an eye pillow, you can cover your eyes with the eye pillows, but just making sure that your pelvis is resting heavy on the mat, that you're keeping the natural curve of the spine, but that your sacrum is kind of melting down into the mat. The thighs are able to slightly internally rotate to just release the tension and soften through the hip creases. Let go of that tension in the hip flexors and the quads, the inner and the outer thighs, the knees. Just let the legs hang nice and heavy. You can put something underneath of your feet here if you like, just making any tiny little adjustments, tucking the shoulders under. And then bringing the hands back into that yoni mudra, so thumbs and index fingers touching, and resting your thumbs right where the navel is. And then releasing the index fingers down towards the pubic bone, the other 6 fingers just spread and land wherever they are, relaxing the elbows and the shoulders. And if you're finding any tension in the shoulders, you can always place blocks or books or pillows or blankets underneath to give yourself a little bit more height and relaxation in the shoulders. And while you're here, beginning to Be aware of the womb breath, of breathing into the womb. So as you inhale, the womb space rises up into the hands. And as you exhale, the womb space draws away from the hands. On the inhalation, there's this filling of the lower abdomen into the hands. And as you exhale, it's as if the abdomen just draws away. Inhale, and the navel rises up into the thumbs. And exhale, and the navel drops, rises up towards and underneath the ribs and up towards the heart. Inhale, the navel rises into the hands. And on the exhale, the navel lowers and rises up under the rib cage and up towards the heart center. So it's as if the heart is sending that breath down into the space of the womb. And the womb is reconnecting with the heart center. Each breath creating more space around the uterus. Each breath settling you further into stillness and rest. The rest required to allow the body to do exactly what it needs to do at the almost beginning of this new cycle. And 10 more full breaths. Two more full breaths here. And on the next out breath, just beginning to wiggle the fingers and the toes. Circling the wrists and the ankles. And stretching the arms up overhead, extending one leg out and then the other. And gently turning your head from side to side. And taking one foot and placing it up on your bolster and then the other. Just allowing your soles of your feet to come together. Let the knees fall out to the side just for a moment here, releasing the inner thighs. And then taking your hands to the outsides of the thighs here. Drawing the knees together over to one side. Releasing your feet from the bolster. Turning yourself onto your side into the fetal position here. Just resting for 3 breaths. And keeping your eyes closed, using your arms to press yourself up to a comfortable seated position, whether that's sitting cross-legged in Sukhasana or Siddhasana, or you can rise up into Varasana. And taking one hand over the space of the womb and one hand over the heart. Again, just feeling how the abdomen gently expands and bulges forward into your hand on the inhales, and how the navel gently draws up under the ribs and up towards the heart on the exhales. And feeling the warmth of your hands over the heart center and over the womb space. And just knowing that with every single breath that you take, with every single heartbeat, that the uterus is receiving the nutrients that it needs to build endometrium lining to create fertility. It's like a new beginning every single month, or a new chance of life for every single month. So just embracing the cyclical nature of the womb, of your cycle. Settling into exactly where you are right now, today, in this moment. And bringing the hands together at the heart, palms touching, just beginning to rub the palms together, building some warmth and some heat here. And then separating the hands just about an inch or two, just feeling that warmth and that magnetism and that tingling in between the palms and the fingers. And then placing the heels of the hands over the eyes very softly, resting the fingers up towards the crown of the head, just feeling that warmth soak into your face. Sliding the hands down the face and towards the throat. And taking a breath in here. And sliding both palms over the heart. And taking a breath in and out. And sliding both hands down and over the space of the womb here. Taking a breath in and out. And giving gratitude, blessings, and thanks for your beautiful and amazing body and for its ability to rejuvenate, to recharge, to release. And just giving yourself permission to flow with your flow, to cycle with your cycle, to move with the rhythms of your body. And bringing the palms together at the heart, thumbs gently grazing over the breastbone in Anjali Mudra. And Now giving gratitude, blessings, and thanks for this practice, for this day, and for this life. This pre-menstrual yoga practice is complete. Hari Om Tat Sat. And hopefully you're feeling a little bit better, feeling a little bit more connected with not just the womb space, but with also the heart center. I wish you well.